security reporter who broke this story for NBC News. Ken, this story continues to unfold. We now believe there were at least 6 people in that meeting. There's a 6th person who has not yet been identified. But what have we known now that we didn't know before that is of impact to the story?
Well, I guess the most significant thing is the presence of this Russian-American lobbyist, this fixer, Rinat Akhmetyan, who does have a military background in counterintelligence and is suspected by some U.S. officials of having ties to Russian intelligence, although he adamantly denies that, and I'm not sure of the state of the evidence on that. We should be very careful about that. But he is a Washington operator who has lobbied in the shadows for years here, including in some causes that are very dear to Vladimir Putin's heart. And as you mentioned, lately he's been doing a lot of work on this Magnitsky Act sanctions case. He and the Russian lawyer who also attended this meeting at Trump Tower have both been working together on that case, actually, and they've been trying to raise questions about it. Now, they may have some legitimate points, but they claim that that is the story that they came to tell the folks at Trump Tower. Now, the issue with that is it doesn't really square with the emails from the Agalarov family, who has business ties to the Trump family, and who seem to promise explicitly through their conduit, Rob Goldstone, negative information about Hillary Clinton, and they said it was coming from a Russian government that wanted to help Donald Trump. That account, which we've seen in these emails, does not really square with what we're hearing now about how this meeting transpired, and it raises a lot of questions.
So, Ken, we're going to talk about the Magnitsky Act and why it's relevant a little later in the show, but the bottom line is it's not relevant to you if you're not connected to the Russian government. So the fact is, if someone is there wanting to take a meeting with an associate of Donald Trump's, with his son-in-law, to talk about the Magnitsky Act, you would not be there but at the behest of someone in the Russian government.
Well, I'm not sure that's fair, Ali. I mean, there certainly are private individuals who are interested in this, but you're right. I mean, the main driver of this anti-Magnitsky Act effort has been the Russian government. They are annoyed by these sanctions. Vladimir Putin is very annoyed because this goes after individuals in the government who are accused of human rights violations. But there is a body, there are people in Washington and elsewhere who believe that there are problems with the story that led to the creation of the Magnitsky Act. That doesn't speak to whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, but just the underlying story of what happened to Magnitsky himself and the circumstances around it has come under question, and that is one of the things that this lawyer lobbyist has been working on.
I'm actually going to have, as you know, I'm going to have Bill Browder on here, who was behind that. We're going to talk to him about that. But the bottom line is the Magnitsky Act targets individuals. So it's not like sanctions on Russian tomatoes or drilling in the Arctic or something like that. So it wouldn't seem likely that Russian citizens of their own accord would be representing themselves to the Donald Trump campaign to have the Magnitsky Act lifted.
Right, and not only that, there was no mention in that email chain that we've all seen now about the Magnitsky Act. It was something very different, and there's no doubt that Bob Mueller and the House and Senate investigators are going to be getting every scrap of paper they can about this meeting and asking every question they can of every witness to find out what this meeting really was about if it wasn't about that.
Ken, great reporting on this. As always, we're going to be talking a lot about it in the coming days. NBC's Ken Delanian in Washington. With me now is Congressman Joe Crowley. He's a